Welcome to the Upshot, Multi-World Disc Golf's podcast about the latest in the disc golf world. I'm the editor, Charlie Eisenhood. Joining me is Josh Mansfield, live from Tampere, Finland. Josh, you're settling in to a new country. Does it feel different than Estonia there, or do you feel like it's like, you know, you can really sense the shared culture?
Yeah, it's a good question. I'm going to say that it generally, like, there is a different sense. Like, it feels a little different. I think the first thing that it feels different, and it may be because of just, like, the side of Tallinn that I was on, is, like, I got out of the train station at Tampere, and, like, there were people trying to sell me little trinkets and crap on the road, and like trying to bother, and it looked like it, and you had like right as you stepped out, there were like all the shops that were like, and I guess I walked out on like a main street, and I don't know if I went to like truly downtown Tallinn. I stayed in like old Tallinn, which is more, I don't know, a little bit different. So it might have been just the side of the city like that I've seen so far, but it, like, Estonia felt a little bit more laid back, a little bit smaller, a little bit more intimate. Tampere feels a little bit more modern, busy, hustle bustle from my minimal experience.
Yeah. That makes sense. I mean, I didn't spend a lot of time in Tampere when I was there because, like, I was closer to Nokia where I was staying.
Okay.
So actually, I'm having a hard time even remembering where I stayed. I remember being in Helsinki. We had a cool little apartment down there.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, it depends a lot on where you are, because if you're in Nokia, it's like super small. It feels like kind of like small townish.
Yeah.
And Tampere is like a big major city. Right,
exactly. So I wonder if, and it's interesting because Tallinn's also like, I mean, it's the capital, but it had more of the smaller feel. And so,
yeah, I mean, it's a much smaller country, right?
It is. It's a quarter of the size. You know, Charlie, I don't know if this one's coming out before or after our Estonia episode, but I talked about it. Like, I had no idea what I was getting into when I came to Estonia, and I really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah, really. Finland has about 5 times the population of Estonia, and the landmass is obviously bigger too. So, yeah, that's great. The Estonia show will be coming out probably tomorrow.
Okay,
as a bonus episode. So this is episode 2, normal show. Then we have the bonus show. Then we'll be back Tuesday for our Worlds preview show. But we are going to be previewing some World stuff today as well. First of all, however, we are excited to welcome in Calvin Heimburg for the first time on the Upshot to talk about his win at the European Disc Golf Festival. He'll be joining us from Finland as well. So without further ado, let's talk to Calvin after his career-defining first major victory. We'll be right back. The Upshot is presented by Pound Disc Golf, makers of the best bags in the sport. Well, if you're already a Pound bag wearer, or you just want to rep the brand, even if you got a different bag, get yourself a brand new hoodie or t-shirt with the 10th anniversary Pound artwork. They've got the Bighorn Sheep, Pound, established 2015. Pretty swaggy looking thing. I got an old school Pound t-shirt. I wear it on the pod sometimes. You gotta keep an eye out for it. But really nice new design, and got a little hoodie for the cooler weather that's coming our way eventually, or got a t-shirt for summertime. Check it out over at pounddiscgolf.com. Joining us now on the Upshot is the winner of the European Disc Golf Festival, Calvin Heimburg. Calvin, it's been a long time coming. We're so excited to have you on the show. Congrats on the win and welcome.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me on the show.
So, you know, it's been a couple days now since the win. How's it all sinking in? Obviously, you've done a lot of winning in your career on the Elite Series, but getting the first major maybe has a different feel to it. I'm curious.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's always been the last kind of item to check off the bucket list, you know, win a major. So it felt really good to finally do that, but you know, only so much time to really think and just celebrate that, seeing as Worlds is basically now. So not a whole lot of time to celebrate that. It's on to the next tournament, and it's the biggest tournament of the year. So gotta get ready.
I want to start with talking about the beginning of the finals round. You come in behind one stroke back from Isaac and Gannon. What did you think? What number did you think you were going to need to shoot in order to win that tournament?
I can't say I had a number. I knew it was going to be a hot round. I mean, Gannon had just come off shooting back-to-back 14s, so
Mm-hmm.
you're thinking you probably need to do something at least like that if he has like a slightly worse day. Um, but yeah, I mean, we all knew it was going to be a sprint, and it was just he was going to take a hot round to win. I can't say I had like a specific total coming into my brain going into it though.
Okay.
So, you know, it was always going to be a crazy battle down the stretch with, every single shot feeling like really critical.
Yeah.
Were there moments where you were feeling like, yikes, like I'm not sure I'm still going to be able to chase down this win? And then like conversely, were there moments where you felt like I'm now in control? Or was it just truly completely unclear? Like I'm so curious about the ups and downs that we certainly feel watching you all play, but maybe is different for you in the heat of competition.
Yeah, I think going into the round, I was one back, and it's when you're behind, you're just chasing, trying to get as many birdies as you can to hopefully just catch up. But then I really think like the one of the biggest turning points on that course is like 7 and 8, and that's kind of where we saw Isaac stumble. He took a double bogey and a single bogey, and that kind of really hurt his chances. And then on 9, not really somewhere where you expect someone to necessarily stumble. That's where I think I took the lead. So, I think when I took the lead, that's when I kind of knew I was in the driver's seat. I know I can birdie every hole on the course. So I was just kind of like, well, if you birdie out, you win. I mean, obviously I didn't do that, but I think that was the point where I was like, well, I kind of can control my own destiny. Gannon tied it back up on 14, and then it was kind of just like a head-to-head playing with him after that. Where yeah, I mean, I got the lead back on 16 with a really good tee shot. Missed that short putt on 17, and then yeah, eventually
What's
won it on 18.
what's going through your mind on 17? I mean, you were so solid on the putting green all week, and then you missed this one that would have basically sealed the tournament. So what are you
Yeah,
thinking at that point?
just too many things. I mean, it's like you know going up to that putt that it's basically to win the tournament, and it's just right there. And and yeah, I mean, I'd been putting pretty good the past couple rounds. I mean, I struggled the first round on the putting green because the first round I think was one of my best throwing rounds out of the entire tournament, but it was my worst scoring round. So I just yeah, definitely a little nervous and just wasn't thinking about making the putt as much as I should have been, and pulled it to the right.
How did you refocus prior to the putt on 18? Because you have that big moment. Same thing. Now it's not only probably for the win, it is certainly for the win. How do you
Yeah.
calm those same things that affected you on 17?
I already kind of dealt with being upset with that. But yeah, just walking down the hill, it was just, I knew how far I was. You can see it from the top of the hill. And I was just trying to talk myself through what I was going to need to do. And really, most of it for me was just, locking in and giving it enough height to give it a chance to go in.
I'm actually curious about the tee shot. You and Gannon both got to watch the other two guys throw, and we saw like a kind of an slight inside miss into C2 and then a really nice shot. When you let it go, did you feel like you had it on the line that you wanted, or did you think, I left it a little inside?
It was definitely a little inside. You know, I wasn't really that comfortable on that shot all week. I didn't really throw it that well in practice. I didn't throw it that well in the tournament. I feel like I was always leaving myself somewhere around like circle's edge or something for some reason. Um, but I did know going into the hole, the last thing I wanted to do was pull it right and just lose the tournament because I threw it out of bounds. But yeah, it definitely was not where I wanted it to be. I think ideally I end up in like a 20 to 25 foot range or something. But um, yeah, I didn't throw it there and left myself with a lot more meat on the bone.
All right, so you go down, you line up this C2 putt. It's for the tournament. Gannon's inside the circle. You know he's making it.
Yep.
All the fans right there. When you let that one go, did you think it's in? Or did you have to wait and see until it got to the basket?
I definitely think I had to wait, but when I let go, it felt good. It came out smooth. It came out high enough. It was just a matter of, there was a little bit of a breeze on the green. It was just a matter of if I had read everything right. Um, and yeah, I went in and yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome. It was so loud and it was very exciting.
You had an outpouring of emotion as a typically reserved player, like your celebration at the end. What's going through your mind at that moment when you hit that putt, and what are you thinking about after you make that?
I think a lot of it's just like relief, happiness, I don't know, excitement. I think there's quite a few emotions that are kind of all coming over you at the same time. But yeah, I mean, I was just, stoked that, I'd won. So I did it.
Does it feel like a weight lifted off your shoulders to win a major?
Yeah, yeah. It's like one of the last things, on the list to check off. I mean, I would still love to win like a world title or something because I mean, it is whether it's warranted or not, it is like the most valued tournament in our sport. But that's just one step closer to Worlds getting that first major. So, I don't have to think about that anymore.
What did you think of this course? I've seen a lot of people. It's been mixed. We'll just say it's mixed. I want to hear what your thoughts are.
Yeah, I mean it's on the easier side as far as like playing goes. I mean, there's out of bounds on every hole pretty much around the entire thing. So if you're not throwing good, it's not going to seem easy, but if you're throwing the disc well, the course is going to, give you quite a few birdie looks. And I think everyone knew going into the tournament that it was going to be a sprint. I'd heard people talking about like maybe needing 50 down to win the tournament. And I was like, I don't know if it's actually going to take 50, but it almost did. So
Almost did.
I mean, people were pretty on with that one. And yeah, I know. So I'd played there last year, so I had an idea of how the course was gonna flow and play, and they made some changes this year. And while the course might have been a little bit longer, I think it played a little easier than it did last year. I think losing the three long par threes in a row and changing two of them to par fours there in the midsection of the course definitely allowed for some easier birdies as opposed to those used to be like three pretty difficult par threes. They all played similar distance to what hole 13 played. So, um, I think this kind of disc golf. I wouldn't say it's my favorite. Like I don't necessarily love the I don't know feeling like you get a par and you're falling behind, but I think it does sometimes make for some exciting finishes. I mean, the venue is awesome. I think they can add some challenge to it for, subsequent tournaments by just kind of tucking some of the baskets on some of the shorter par fours into some different little coves or back. But I think they take feedback pretty well. And, they made changes from last year, so I'm sure there'll be changes when we go back.
Two follow-up questions to that. First, Are you glad that this course is going to be on tour for the next 4 years, including for another couple majors and the World Championships?
Yeah, I mean, I think just the whole event itself, like the way it's all set up and the way they treat all the players and just the whole spectacle of it all, it's pretty awesome. Um, Also, just Tallinn itself is a pretty cool city, so it's a really cool place to come and play, and I'm pretty excited that we get to come back.
When you're playing these kind of some, as you said, with some of the easier shots, if you're throwing the disc well, they come pretty straightforward. They're routine. How do spectators and the number of spectators in an event like this affect the pressure for those routine shots?
I think it depends on kind of like where your headspace is at. You know, there was a lot of the tournament where like I was completely oblivious to how many people were around. Like it just didn't really register. But it is like I feel like there's people around pretty much always. You know, it's I don't know, this course more than any, there's like more separation between the players and the spectators. Like spectators are basically allowed to free roam, but everything's barricaded off. So like, but it also just means there's always people walking around in the background. There's always people wandering somewhere. So um, I think that's really cool. Definitely, you know, occasionally there's something that's a little distracting in the background because, you know, they're off walking, trying to, you know, maybe go see someone play on a hole that's adjacent. But I think as a whole, it's a really cool environment. And but I don't know. For me, I don't know if it ever registered to me as like, oh, there's a ton of people watching. This is so much more pressure. I don't know. I think I knew for me, like the way I was playing that week, especially going that final round, it was just like my best chances to outthrow everybody else on my card. Like I feel like I'm probably the worst putter out of them, but I feel like I can outthrow any of them on my best day.
You must feel really confident heading into Worlds with like where your throws are. And I mean, I frankly thought your putting was strong this weekend.
Yeah.
How do you, looking back at last year, you played great at the Beast, but Tampere not so much. How do you right that ship? Because it's going to take at least decent rounds at Tampere if you want to win a world championship.
Yeah, you know, that's part of this week's goals is just breaking down that course a little bit better than I was last year. Um, you know, I feel like I felt pretty good going into that course last year. I actually really like the course, and I feel like it actually sets up pretty good for me. I just did not play it well. Definitely maybe got a little too aggressive in some places that I shouldn't have when I got off the fairway. And I think I just kind of let things spiral out there more than I really have anywhere else. So I think it's just going to be a lot of risk management and then just dialing in the tee shots that I struggled with.
The turnaround between the European Disc Golf Festival and Worlds, as you mentioned, I mean, it's quite quick. What is your focus in terms of preparation when you have a limited amount of time, especially for an event of this importance?
I think always coming into the big tournaments, I think like for me, I always think I put a little more time in on the practice putting green. I definitely want to feel good on the putting green. It can always, if you're feeling good on the putting green, you can take a little bit of pressure off the throwing. But then also it's when you have limited time, which I don't know if I feel like this is that limited since like we have like I mean there's like kind of an off week, but I guess World starts early, so we have enough time to practice these courses. But it's really just since I've seen the courses, it's figuring out what I did poorly last year and then righting those wrongs, and then just trying to fortify what I was doing good last year.
Somebody in our Discord said that Gannon said a couple of years ago that you're the most aggressive player on tour. And so the question is, do you agree with that? And, you know, what is your philosophy on aggression, on shot making? You know, and when do you decide to be as aggressive versus, you know, take a less risky option?
Yeah, I'm probably up there as far as, most aggressive players on tour. I don't know. I feel like I feel very confident in my ability to throw the disc. And, if that's where I feel like my strength is, I should probably try to exploit that as much as I possibly can. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I guess I haven't thought about that too much, but he's probably not wrong.
Uh, I wanted to ask this question earlier and forgot to. When you were going into the final round, you have Isaac Robinson, who has never given up a lead after leading in 2 rounds at a major. You've got Gannon Buhr ahead of you, who has been one of the top players the past couple of years. Which of those 2 players did you think it was going to come down to you beating in order to win this tournament?
I don't think I didn't ever like single any of them out. Um, really, like, I mean, my thoughts going into that day, when it was time for me to go to the course, hopped on my little scooter. I was trying to set my new time record from where I was staying to the festival grounds.
Did you do it?
I kind of no, I was like 3 seconds short, but
Oh.
it was still a good time. It was still a good time. And then when I was thinking about the day, I just was like, I'm gonna outthrow everyone today. And really that's what I think what my biggest success was that final round. Like I don't know how many I did, but I had quite a few shots that were basically tap-ins. Like I was in the bullseye, I don't know, 5 or 6 times. So like it definitely took a lot of pressure off me, and puts more pressure on other people to make their putts when they see you just under the basket.
You generally don't have a caddy on your bag. How come you don't look for friends or other people to carry your bag for you?
Yeah, I occasionally do, but it has to be someone I'm pretty close with. Um, I don't know. I just feel like sometimes I need to be in my own head, and I don't. I just need to be able to separate and not have to deal with another person, I guess, would be my best way of putting it. And I know some people, have caddies, like they'll just talk to people on the internet and they'll have basically someone they barely know as their caddy, and it's awesome. But I don't know if that would be the greatest experience for me.
Just to go back to the throwing point, you were the only player in the field that did not go OB. Do you think that's a direct correlation to how well you were throwing? Do you feel like you got any lucky kicks here and there that didn't go OB? Because I mean, obviously, considering the margins of this tournament, it becomes pretty massive that you never took a penalty stroke.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely had some close calls. I can think of, a couple shots that I felt like were pretty bad. I had one tee shot on 16. It was either round 1 or 2. I think it was round 1 that was really bad. It was like early and left, and it went through like a Y of a tree. And I think that was probably the worst shot I threw all weekend. But normally shots that you see kind of come out early on that hole end up kicking out of bounds, whether it's right or left. And then, yeah, I mean, there's out of bounds everywhere, so sometimes you're close to it. But, like, I mean, I came pretty close to throwing out of bounds on the island on 7 that final round. But it was always going to be kind of slim margins with where I was and how the gap was shaping up for me. So, like, I don't know, parking it seemed like it was going to be pretty difficult. I don't know. Like, it's just different angles on that hole are just very difficult because, like, the branches come into play when you're not in the perfect spot really fast. But as a whole, I think, yeah, throwing is what set me apart this past weekend. I mean, like, I don't know what, like, the total stats were, but I feel like I probably had, I don't know, I probably averaged, like, 13 looks inside the circle around, like, probably, like, 13 or 14 C1 greens in regulation around. So that's a lot of looks.
Yeah, you were tied in at the top for Circle 1 in regulation with Gannon at 75%.
Yeah.
So, yeah. It was like between you and him, and you led in strokes gained tee to green because you never went OB. So
Yep.
Yeah.
yes, your feel is correct. So I'm curious, like, you're basically the first thing you said is you're already shifting your mindset to Worlds, and completely get that. I mean, we're 1 week away from the tournament. How does winning this event carry into Worlds for you?
I think, it definitely gives you a little bit of a confidence boost. I mean, it's been a while since I've won a tournament. Last time I won a tournament was OTB last year, so a little over a year ago. So it's nice to see yourself actually do it, and it kind of reminds yourself that you can do it, and that you kind of get some of those feelings coming down the stretch. Because this year, like I haven't really, I don't know, I've played fine. It just hasn't been like my best year by any stretch. I haven't really been in contention as many times as I have in the past. So just getting a feeling for what that's like, and being there, I think also kind of helps mentally prepare you.
Do you attribute that lack of being in contention to your play or to the field getting better?
Um, it's probably some of both. I definitely don't feel like this has been my best year. I feel like I've struggled to like just string them together, and like not even necessarily just rounds together, but like I'll have I'll have rounds where I'm throwing great and then putting awful, and then I'll have rounds where it's the flip flop. I'm just not like putting everything together at the same time. But I think, going into once I came over to Europe, I don't know, my game was feeling really good. I felt really good at PCS, felt really good at Crokel, even though I didn't play that great. But I don't know. I think kind of at the end of Crokel, there was some kind of had this little mental shift on the back nine after struggling in that final round on the front nine on a course that I felt like I should have played great on. And I don't know. I feel like I've been playing a whole lot better. I think I just stopped believing in myself or something. I don't know. I just mentally I feel like I wasn't quite where I needed to be, and I feel like I'm in a better place now.
That's awesome. Your circle two putting is about 6% higher than it was last year. You're about 27% last year. You're about 32. Does it feel like you've improved in that area?
I don't know. It doesn't necessarily feel like it, but I mean, if that's what the numbers are saying, they're probably right.
Oh, I was say I was about to say stats don't lie, but on our PDGA stats, like,
Yeah, yeah. I guess I don't always go back and check to see what they plugged in for my stats, so it's hard to say, but um, I mean, if I'm 6% better in Circle Two, that definitely is a good thing.
Uh, how would you break down Tampere and Beast from a demands on the player perspective? Like, what do you need to do well to succeed here? Pretty different courses than what we just saw in Estonia.
Yeah, the Beast. I feel like the Beast is kind of like Estonia in some ways. Like it feels like there's a lot of birdies to be had out there, and you really need to go out there and put down some hot scores. It might play, man. I don't know. Maybe there's longer par threes out there, and maybe the shots are a little more demanding at the Beast, but it definitely feels like kind of a sprint. And then the monster at the Tampere Disc Golf Center is like very much the opposite. You can go out there and score, but like the odds of like consistently throwing the same round out there is pretty much next to zero, because there's just so many weird little places you can end up, and you're probably going to have to end up scrambling. And yeah, that one's kind of a grind, and you need to definitely pick your spots. And then when you get in trouble, you need to be smart.
predictions for what the score will be, winning score for Worlds?
Predictions. I'm not generally the best at this, but if I had to guess, wait, is the weather forecast good? I haven't looked at the weather.
I think there's supposed to be some rain at the beginning of the week.
Okay.
But let me pull it up for you real quick. So yeah, rain Monday, Tuesday, but that's not when. So we've got, come on, there we go. Okay. We've got Wednesday. So it actually looks like good weather. Maybe some slight, looks like windy on Saturday. But otherwise like mild winds, pretty decent looking weather all week.
All right, I'm gonna predict a score. I don't remember really what was hot at the Monster. I just knew I was at the bottom of the leaderboard, but I'm gonna say winning total 5 rounds, 44. 44 under.
Okay.
All right,
There we
lock
go.
it in.
I don't know if that's reasonable or not. I feel like scores were definitely not as hot. I don't know. I don't know what the best after 2 rounds coming out of the Monster was last time.
Let's see. The winning score last year was 35 through 4 rounds, of course.
Yeah.
So 44 seems very reasonable.
Might be a little better than
the
that
best
then. Because
scores
it was wet last year, I feel like, when we played the Monster.
Yeah, the Monster, the best round was 9 down. Gannon shot a 9. Good scores were 5 under or better.
Okay. It might be a little better then. What do you shoot the other round you played at the Monster, though?
Gannon's first round was a 3.
So he was 12 coming out.
Yeah.
So if we assume it's a little better, 14.
That was the best
I don't know.
combo score.
It's still
12.
probably, I would say like, I still don't hate my guess. It could be a little better than that, though, for sure.
44, was that the number you gave?
Yeah, but I
Okay.
could see it being like 46 to 48 too, but who knows?
We'll see. 44 and a half is the line.
Okay.
Where do
44 and a
people want
half
to
is the
take
line.
over or under on the 44 and a half?
That's what we do on this show.
Oh, well, I guess I said 44, so I'm taking the under. Even though I don't necessarily feel confident after hearing Gannon's scores last year, but it's okay.
Gotta stick to it.
Yeah.
You were right at the top of this tournament a couple years ago, and didn't play your best in the final round. And, we're going to be ending at the Beast again. You may find yourself in a similar spot. What do you take away from that moment, and maybe just generally like your experiences at majors now having won this past weekend? Is there anything to take away from that, or does it feel like every round is its own thing?
I don't know. I think the biggest thing is just, I've seen myself do it now, so like I'm sure that is like a little bit of a mental help, but yeah, I think like anytime you're going into a final round of the tournament, I tend not to think about too much other than just like making it its own thing. Because it's like the end of the shot clock, time's ticking down, and whether you have the lead or you're chasing, every shot matters quite a bit.
My last thing with this, and the kind of touches on this, do you feel like you play better and more confidently from a lead or when you're chasing?
I think I like chasing more. But I think that's also just because like when you're chasing, you don't really have anything to lose.
Mm-hmm.
I think almost anyone would feel a little more confident chasing than they would be holding a lead, but I guess it also depends on how big the lead is. When the lead's losable, it definitely feels like it's probably more pressure, but I don't know, there's definitely times where you can, like I haven't played on like tour and ended up with a huge lead like that, but like, I've been at local tournaments and you eventually get to a lead that's basically insurmountable, and then it's like disc golf is like the easiest game ever because you have no worries at all.
Sure. I'm thinking more of like that 1 to 3 range that, beginning of the final round, you got
I
1 to
would
3
say
strokes.
I'm definitely more comfortable chasing then.
Okay.
But I just think because when you're chasing, you have nothing to lose.
You got a commemorative disc coming out here?
Yeah, there should be one coming out. I don't know the exact date, but yeah, I think it's going to be some kind of eagle. So
We were saying it should have a pizza stamp on it. What do you think of that?
Well, I haven't seen any artwork, but there is kind of some pizzas in the Thunderbirds that they just released.
Mhm.
So I don't know. Maybe that'd be overdoing it, but who knows? We'll see what they come up with.
Awesome. Well, hey, thanks so much for coming on. I realize I said that this is your first time on the show, but that's not true. It's kind of interesting, like a bookends moment. We had you on for after your round 1 at Vermont Worlds
Okay.
years ago with Steve Hill. And I just remember you shot that amazing round. I can't remember if you were in the lead. I think you had a share of the lead. You would probably remember.
Yeah, I think I did. I think I did. I think yeah, I did shoot a really really good round out at Fox Run. I don't remember what it
Yeah.
totaled at, but yeah.
I know for sure that, you know, for me, this was the moment where I was like, whoa, who is Calvin Heimburg? Like, showing up, you shot a 52 on a par 63, so 11 down to take the outright lead. You had a 1-shot lead over Sexton and a 2-shot lead over Macbeth, Conrad, Nico, and Andrew Fish, Jake Lauber, and Matt Bell. I can't keep going, and Lance Brown. A lot of people at 54. And it's very cool to have you on, you know, what is it, 7 years later, now that you've won a major and had all the success in your career. You know, do you look back on that Worlds as a notable moment in your career, or is that just me noticing it?
I don't know. I guess I don't think about it too much. I don't know if I think of Vermont Worlds as super memorable. I mean, I remember taking some bad scores, you know, after that first round on some holes. Like I remember taking a 9 on hole 4 at Fox Run. But
Sorry
like,
to dredge up the bad memories.
you know, but like, yeah, I don't know if I think of that as like a super memorable moment for me. I've definitely had my times popping up on lead cards at Worlds. You know, at the first time being even before then, 2015 in Pittsburgh. I shot a hot first round and was able to be on lead card at Slippery Rock. So I don't know if I think of that one as like a defining moment for me, but I could see if it's like one of our first encounters with each other, how it could be one of your memories of me.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I remember you got the eagle on hole 7. And it was like, holy crap. I don't feel like people really thought that was an eagleable hole at the time, and you got a C1 putt. So anyway, very cool. Calvin, congratulations once again, and best of luck at Worlds next week.
Thank you so much. Thank you guys for having me.
Calvin Heimburg with us here on The Upshot. We'll be right back. Welcome back to The Upshot. Well, thanks again to Calvin for coming on the show. Josh, you know, it's so interesting, like, already the mindset going to Worlds. And you can't blame him. Like, it was the appetizer.
Right.
And it's obviously huge to win it. And it's obviously like a career achievement to get the major, but he's ready to go, and it's business time. We got to go try to get a Worlds.
You know, Charlie, it has to be business as normal, because I think that with 2 courses starting sooner, like you have to go get that time in. You've got to get used to your discs. You got to get used to the on those courses. You got to get used to where the lies are and where you're going to find trouble. And especially with a course like Tampere, I mean, you know, I don't know. I think that a course like European Disc Golf Festival, because there aren't as many decisions and you generally know where you're going to be, it's a matter of like, which disc do I want to throw, and then how hard am I throwing it? And once that decision's made, it's fairly straightforward for preparation. That's just not going to be the case for Tampere. It's, you know, what courses at the Monster am I, or which holes, where am I going to be on those holes? Where am I expecting to be if I'm going to be out of position? Where is it most likely that I'm going to be out of position? How am I going to scramble from there? Which holes am I playing for par versus birdie? A lot of decisions got to be made, and preparation is going to have to go into that course.
Yeah. And, you heard what he said. Like, felt like he had a good game plan, but didn't work out last year. So I think it's huge to be coming off of, throwing as well as he was, though. It just makes the process of like going in and attacking that course and feeling confident that you're going to be able to execute this time around a lot more clear. And he's been a beast at the beast.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's been right there with all the top players. He could have won this tournament the year that Corey Ellis won it, top 10 in 2023, and played great at the beast last year. But again, the Tampere rounds, both sub 1,000 rated.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously, you just can't have that. Like, it just puts you too far back when the separation is just not as much there at the beast. So
I'm curious because Calvin said he thinks that a lot of players prefer chasing, but I want to start asking more players that, because I think that like the likes of Isaac Robinson, I bet he likes playing with a lead.
Yeah.
It
certainly feels that way.
It feels that way,
how
right?
He has been winning.
Yeah. So now, when I asked that question, it was funny. I asked that question and I almost was like, "Man, Josh, what a dumb question." Of course, he's going to say playing with a lead. Who wouldn't want to play with a lead? And he's like, "Yeah, I feel like most people like to chase." And I was like, "Huh? Don't."
There's a pressure difference.
There is.
It's easier to be loose and be like, I can go for it.
Yeah.
Versus like trying to protect something that you have.
Mm-hmm.
The risk calculations are really different. So it probably depends a little on what kind of player you are. Someone like him who opts to play the aggressive option most of the time, it can be a little awkward when you have a lead and you're thinking about protecting a lead and then choosing like not what you would normally do in those spots because of that, in theory. So,
in theory.
Great stuff from Calvin. Now it's time to talk about some Worlds storylines. And basically, Josh, what I want to do today is just think about, for whom would a Worlds win mean the most? And that can be defined in all kinds of different ways.
Mm-hmm.
And there's different metrics we can use. And, this doesn't have to be, this is not scientific.
Right.
This is more of a general feeling of like, what are the key stories in 2025 heading into the first ever European Worlds? And, who wants this the most? Because this is the one. I mean, the World Championships, like, as exciting as the European Disc Golf Festival was, I'm ready for
it's not Worlds.
Triple the audience.
Yeah.
And it's just not Worlds. It's not Worlds. Nothing's Worlds.
Nothing's Worlds. Nothing World.
When I say that, who comes to mind?
I have two answers, and I've really been debating which of these two is the right answer. But I think that the correct answer for MPO of who this means the most for has to be Paul McBeth. Opportunity to tie Ken Climo. It feels almost, and it's not quite even the same distance apart, but it's getting to the point that another major win from Tiger would feel like 2019 Masters for Tiger. Another win for Paul would feel like 2019 Masters for Tiger, right? Like after everything, and there, it's definitely not the same, but it's getting to the point that people are starting.
McBeth is in a way better form than Tiger was at that point.
But every year that passes without Paul winning another major, the number of people saying, I think it's official, I don't think Paul's getting another one, continues to grow. And it would not be shocking, but it would be surprising. And this Worlds, there are a couple of things that I think would make this Worlds in particular very special for Paul McBeth. Every major, as long as he is one short of the Climo major record, will always be a meaningful major and elevate Paul to the top 5 on this list. This one, I think, has a couple of things that bump him up to 1. First, he has a storied history as a European Open winner. He is phenomenal there. He has a bunch of wins, plays well in Europe, has expressed his love for playing in Europe many times. And if he hadn't lost to Eagle in the 2021 European Open, 2022, which year was that? Because you had Gannon, Corey, so 3 years ago, so 2022? Yeah.
Think so.
So if he hadn't lost to Eagle in the 2022 European Open, he'd be at the major record. And that So for him to get that here in Europe, I think is particularly impactful. It also adds the fact that he would now have 7 worlds and continue to push his record, because there's still, I don't know, there's something about like having half as many worlds as Kenny that feels a little bit odd, right? It's like, we know it's a different era, but like you can kind of be like, oh yeah, but I've got double, man. And like, I don't know, there's something that changes, I think, when you hit 7 and like hitting a number that people didn't think 6 was possible. And now like to push to 7, I think would be impactful. Yeah, I think Paul's got to be the answer here.
With the statistics lifetime matching Climo, like that is really the thing for me that tips the scales.
Yeah.
In a way that, like, you know, let's be honest, he could win any major and it will still check that box. So it's not necessarily specifically that it needs to be worlds. But to me, it would also say about Paul that like he's still incredibly relevant as a player. And he's been like flirting with not being totally relevant. Now, I think he's definitely played a lot better this season. I think it's clearly helped that he's gotten healthy. And I think he's almost underperforming because he's feeling the pressure to play this like super elite game. And like he'll be in a spot to win, and then he kind of has these off rounds. So how does he overcome that? I mean, I'm pretty encouraged by what I saw from him at EDGF. Like, obviously he didn't win, but, you know, he played really well. He shot the best round of the tournament, and you got to like his chances on these courses at Worlds because we know what he's been able to do with the Beast. He's been so awesome. So I basically agree. I mean, he's the first person that comes to mind, and that'll probably be true for a while, and for certainly, you know, while he's still a top 10 player in the world, you know that, you know, getting one or really 2 more to truly set the all-time record is got to be like the thing that he wants more than anything in disc golf at this point. Other players for whom I think this is a big deal. Obviously, if Isaac can win another one, that would be pretty incredible.
Yeah.
And we haven't seen a run like that in quite some time. Like, when is even the last time we saw somebody win 3 straight? Like, I think it's Climo.
Yeah.
I don't think Macbeth ever won more than 2 in a row. I'm gonna pull up the stats really quick. So Climo obviously had that insane run from 1990 to 98. And it just absolutely cooked everybody all that time. Barry Schultz won a pair in 03 and 04. Macbeth, I'm wrong. Macbeth won 4 in a row. My brain is mush when it comes to remembering these records. Macbeth won 4 in a row from 2012 to 2015.
Okay.
I'm remembering that he had the like alternating years winning later on.
I remember that too. I also forget that there was any like Paul won World before 2014. In my brain, I don't like that one stands out to me. So it's always like, oh yeah, Paul won his first Worlds in 2014, even though I know that's not the case.
2012 in Charlotte. Ricky won a pair in 16-17, remember?
Yep.
And then Barsby Macbeth, Conrad Macbeth, and then Robinson. So trying to become the first player since Paul Macbeth to win 3 in a row. And one of only 3 players to win 3 in a row, joining Macbeth and Climo. Obviously, incredible company to keep.
Yeah.
And how about Gannon Burr, who has been the best player over the last 2 years? Maybe you want to even stretch it to 3 years. And yet he does not have the Worlds yet. And until he gets the Worlds, there's like a gaping hole in the resume.
Yep.
So, and he's playing at courses where he was incredible last year.
It has to be a lot of pressure on Gannon, without a doubt. The one thing that I think tempers things for Gannon a little bit is it doesn't feel like we're getting there, but we're still not quite at the point that like people are knocking Gannon for not having a Worlds, right? He could win one, but I'm not at the point that I'm like, oh, Gannon is underperforming expectations without a World Championship. In a couple of years, might start seeing that, right? But right now, he's just so young that, oh no, you don't have a Worlds by 20? Like, shoot. Like, okay, I hear you.
I mean, I just would say historically, when a player has ascended to be the top player in the world, they tend to win the Worlds.
And that's true.
And so that's been the thing. I mean, it's different now. There's a way fewer rounds, which decreases the likelihood of the number one rated / the best player winning.
It's also noteworthy that a lot of times worlds can like ascend people to that level.
That's true.
Where they are seen as a top player, and then winning the worlds puts them over the edge as being.
I mean, think about how we think about Isaac now.
Exactly, right. And so it backing into the world championships, I think is actually a little more uncommon, perhaps. Ricky has to be another top player here in terms of storylines. It's now been 7 years since his last major victory, and the two-time world champion is an accomplishment that no one will ever take away from him. But he does feel like he's plagued by the second best in two eras, and a world championship could really help elevate him to one of the top competitors of this era of increased parity, rather than second fiddle to Ganon's era.
Well, and he would tie Dave Feldberg for third most majors all time, only behind Climo and Macbeth. And he's got some people hot on his heels, right? Isaac Robinson's already at 4 major wins. Ganon's already at 3 major wins. So, like, it's about legacy for him as well.
Yeah.
And, to get 3 worlds, that also puts you in rare company.
It does. It absolutely does.
How many guys have 3+? I think it's just Macbeth and Climo. Duval has a pair from the early years. Schultz got the 2. Das got the 3.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Because he did like 2 and then a break and then 1 again, right?
That's
or
right.
1
05, 07, and then 2011.
Oh, okay.
So, that, again, incredible company to keep.
Yeah.
And puts you in the tops of those lists when people are talking about world champs all time. And then there's all the other guys who, like, for whom it would be a big deal, right? Anybody who hasn't won a major yet. So, like, at the top of the list, we've already been talking about it this week, Simon Lizotte, Anthony Barella, 2 great players who don't even have any majors yet. For them to win a Worlds would just be like,
yeah,
it locks their career into, stardom level.
Yeah. Nicholas Antila.
Yeah.
In front of the home crowd.
Calvin trying to go back to back.
Yeah. There are a lot of Worlds is obviously going to be an amazing storyline for anybody's career. There are some, though, that I really do think that we've talked about.
And how about a European winner that's not Nicholas or Simon? Man. In MPO. That would be really something.
It would be something.
Like Lowry Lettinen gets one. Can you imagine?
Oh my gosh.
The comeback story. They make a documentary about it.
Listen, American fans and like close followers of disc golf would probably be disappointed with that result. But could you imagine the impact that could have on the growth of the sport here, and like the spectators that it's going to pull moving?
It'd be incredible.
Be incredible.
Let me just run you down. This is an amazing international world championships. There are more countries represented this year than ever before, by a lot. I'm just going to run you down some countries. I'm just going to rip through them, okay?
Okay.
Albania, Argentina, Austria, Belgium, Belize, Canada, China, Chinese Taipei, which is Taiwan, Colombia, Croatia, Cyprus, the Czech Republic, Denmark, Estonia, Finland, Germany, France, Greece, Hong Kong, Hungary, Iceland, Ireland, Israel, Italy, Japan, Latvia, Lithuania, Malaysia, Mexico, Netherlands, New Zealand, Norway, Poland, Portugal, Serbia, Slovakia, Slovenia, South Africa, Spain, Sweden, Switzerland, Thailand, Ukraine, the UK, and the US. And maybe I'm missing a couple. I went through the MPO side.
Did you say Latvia?
I said Well, I don't know, but there's a Latvian female player.
Yeah.
Elizabeth Peksena. And I think that's everything. But look at that. That's another reason you have worlds outside the US.
Yeah.
Because for one, it's a lot easier for people to get into Finland than it is to get into the US.
Yep.
Like getting a visa to the US from some countries is not easy. And I just think it's great. It like makes the trip much more accessible for people who live in Asia. amazing moment here. And, most of these players would have nothing to do with the top of the leaderboard. But to me, it's like
That's
part
so cool.
of developing the sport is offering this World Championships opportunity to the world and not just to the, the U.S. and Canada.
Yep. Wow. That's a remarkable list.
It's cool, right?
That's really cool.
How about on FPO? Who are some of the standouts in terms of stories?
Honestly, I feel like the top 5 are all equally important. I don't know how to separate them.
And we were talking about how who wins this tournament might decide who number 1 in the world is right now.
Yes.
And it's just never been this balanced and the logical explanation for why each player might win available. And then you still have dark horses, super young talented players like Cadence Burge who could make a crazy run. But
yeah, absolutely. But at the top, Kristen gets 3. Evelina gets 2. Missy gets her first. Holland gets her first. Silva gets her first, right? Evelina cements herself as no longer in the shadow of Kristen, but the dominant player.
I mean, Evelina's number 1 in the world if she wins.
Yeah, 100%. Kristen silences all the doubters if she comes back and wins Worlds. Big Money Missy establishes herself as the premier majors and top spotlight player on FPO. You should always be concerned at the biggest moments when Missy is playing. Holland ascends to number 1. She has the thing. Holland is the best player in the world. She has the best skill set. She has shaken all of the mental side. She is just the best disc golfer in the world. Silva, back-to-back majors and winning in her home country to establish herself as the young player who is the dominant threat in a division that is significantly older than MPO in terms of where the top talent is. How do you pick between those storylines? I really don't know.
I don't know. I mean, Kristen also would get to solo 3rd all time in the majors list behind Paige and Val Jenkins. She's tied for 3rd right now with Katrina, Elaine King, and Des Redding. Getting A Worlds puts you into rare company. It also feels like it could be an era shifting moment, if I'm being honest.
If Silva or Holland wins?
If anybody besides Kristen wins.
Yeah.
If Kristen wins, we're in the Kristen era still.
Yeah.
If anyone else wins, it is still very possible that we are seeing, okay, this is the moment where maybe we're not in the Kristen era anymore and it's changed in some way. It's a parody era or it's,
whatever.
Somebody else takes
Evelina's,
over. Yeah. Crazy stuff. Do we want to say more there, Josh?
Oh, I think that's a good summary. We'll go a little bit more in depth into odds, likelihood, breakdown of course, whose skill set sets up well, how different people have played here. But there's your high level view of, I think, what that means for different players.
More to come on the Tuesday preview show. Really looking forward to breaking everything down, talking about the courses and talking about every element here. I can't wait to see the betting odds, to be honest, because how do you set the lines on this tournament this year?
I'll keep an eye on them for you, Charlie.
Thank you, Josh. All right. That is going to do it for today's show. Thank you so much for tuning in. For Josh Mansfield, I'm Charlie Eisenhood saying so long. Bonus show coming out later this week. Keep an eye on that. All things Estonia and European Disc Golf Festival. And then we'll be back with you next week for our World's preview and then Rapid Reacts every single day. Josh, have a great weekend. I'll talk to you next week.
Talk to you next week.